collect its revenue. We are then seeking to solve the real problem in the room.
Also coming up this afternoon, President Mahama attributes Ghana's economic turnaround to fiscal discipline and divine intervention.
Our economic recovery is touted around the world as truly amazing. Through disciplined economic management, prudent fiscal reforms, responsible leadership, and the sacrifices of the Ghanaian people, our nation has made remarkable progress.
You want to stay with us for excerpts of the second national prayer and thanksgiving ceremony which happened in Accra earlier this morning. Still to come, the minority in parliament demands urgent briefing from the health minister over a potential disease outbreak following recent flooding in the capital.
The minority is therefore pressing for an urgent and substantive briefing to this House by the Minister for Health, setting out precisely what steps are being taken to monitor affected communities for.
Now, the caucus is also pressing on government to declare a one-week flood emergency preparedness exercise.
I respectfully call on government to declare a one-week national flood emergency preparedness exercise.
Meanwhile, government has announced moves to restore 6 wetlands for restoration to reduce perennial flooding in Accra.
Mr. Speaker, we have about six wetlands that have to be restored in Accra alone. 6 of them. And the reason why we have to do is that we have to have spaces where we can hold water. The rivers must be given their room and the streams must be given their space.
You want to stay with us for details from Parliament in that regard. Also coming up, Ghana passes maritime and anti-piracy law 4 months after pirates robbed 71 Ghanaian fishermen on the high seas.
Mr. Speaker, we have about six wetlands.
What it means is that any offences that are created or that are committed within our territorial waters, this law is capable of giving the necessary punishment to whoever that is involved.
Now we have details as Transport Minister vows to deal with all maritime crises. We have details to these stories, including sports, all coming up in the next 30 minutes. And it's the first day of the month of July 2026, and you're welcome to 12 Live here on Class 91.3 FM. My name is Charles Akrofi. And this afternoon, you can call it the All Men Affair. I'm doing this with
Nana Jaman Prempe.
Now, consumers of electricity and water across the country should expect to pay more for utility services from today. This follows a directive by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission announcing a 3.49% increase in electricity tariffs and a 0.85% increase in water tariffs. The decision has drawn criticism from several industry watchers, including CATS International, who argue that the current economic conditions do not support another upward adjustment in utility prices. However, speaking to Class News, President of the Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Eyim Dake, defending the tariff adjustment. He explained that the increase is necessary to help address revenue shortfalls within the Electricity Company of Ghana and support the utilities operations.
The real issue we need to really focus on and discuss is the inability of ECG to collect all its sales, technically its revenue that it makes on a monthly basis. There's a significant shortfall in their target, which we describe as commercial losses and technical losses. That is the big problem in the room. How do we make sure there are interventions for ECG to collect its full revenue or reasonably above 80%? They are not doing that. So when we guys move on to focus on tariff adjustment, the causation factor is the inability of ECG to collect its revenue from the market. All right? So once that is the major issue, anytime the quarterly adjustment comes up and there are shortfalls, government intervenes, either by Ministry of Finance injecting in fresh money to buy fuels to mitigate the shortfalls as a result of the inefficiencies of ECG. That is the crux of the matter. So when we focus on that real issue and discuss measures to aid ECG to collect its revenue, we are then seeking to solve the real problem in the room, not necessarily arguing out on tariff increments every quarter. There's a real problem in the room. So these shortfalls are above 35%. And then there was an intervention of metering at a stage. A number of meters were deployed. A number of the customers of ECGs are either not known to them, or even if they are known to them, the meters or the measures for measuring their power consumption is weak.
And so you heard that the president of the Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Eyim Dakede, essentially throwing support for the tariff increment as announced by the Public Utility Regulatory Commission. Now, Class FM hit the street of Accra to gauge the mood among members of the public as regards the announcement that was made by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. And this is what a lot of you have got to say.
Yeah, I think it's too harsh because there are no jobs in the system and there are lots of people struggling with this rain and the flood around destroying people's property. I think the government should rather reduce it so that the citizens will be able to afford rather than increasing, since there is no job around and the flood are destroying properties as well. The best thing the government should do is rather to reduce it for us to feel comfortable and be afford to pay rather than increasing it. It will be like there's no job and you're demanding more money from your citizens. So my take on it is the government should rather reduce rather than increase.
I don't think there's anything. It's not something we all take with ease. Either by one way or the other. Even if it is necessary, we complain. And all we just want is number one, we want something that is fair, that at least even average people will be able to afford. So we know government might be trying on their way, but at least it should be fair. Something that will balance at least. It will not affect each Ghanaian household. So that's just my opinion.
I think the increment should be something that the ordinary person can afford to pay. It shouldn't be too high that some people will not be able to pay.
And so those were some comments from you guys out there as far as the increment or the announcement of an increment in tariff prices is concerned. This is 12 Live, you're on Class 91.3 FM. We're turning attention to some other matters. Prempe.
And our President Mahama has attributed Ghana's improving economic fortunes to the government's commitment to fiscal discipline, responsible leadership, and the prayers of the nation. Speaking at the second national prayer and Thanksgiving service here in Accra earlier this morning, President Mahama said the country's economic recovery is the result of prudent fiscal management and deliberate policy measures implemented by his administration. According to him, the progress Ghana is witnessing is not only a product of sound economic governance, but also the collective prayers and faith of Ghanaians. The president emphasized that while divine guidance has played an important role in the country's journey, responsible leadership and disciplined management of public finances have been essential in restoring confidence in the economy. He reaffirmed his government's commitment to maintaining fiscal discipline and implementing policies that will sustain economic growth, create jobs, and improve the living standards of Ghanaians.
Our economic recovery is touted around the world as truly amazing. Through disciplined economic management, prudent fiscal reforms, responsible leadership, and the sacrifices of the Ghanaian people, our nation has made remarkable progress. But above all our efforts, we must acknowledge the grace of the Almighty God who has sustained us through this journey. And even as we celebrate these gains, we remain mindful that many families in our country continue to face economic pressures. Many young people continue to seek employment, and many businesses still require affordable credit to expand. Our work is therefore not finished. Our task is to consolidate these gains and ensure that every Ghanaian shares in the benefits of our national progress. Together, by God's grace, we have shown that when a nation remains united in purpose and disciplined in its action, even the greatest challenges can be overcome. Our national journey reminds us of an enduring truth. Faith without works is dead, says James chapter 2, verse 26. And prayer without responsibility cannot transform an economy. Ghana's progress has been made possible by prayer, by responsible leadership, disciplined governance, and the hard work of our people. Our religious leaders prayed for the nation. Our traditional authorities offered wise counsel
President John Dramani Mahama. Still at the National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving, the chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Apostle Dr. Eric Nyamiche, has called on Ghanaians to embrace a new mindset rooted in patriotism, integrity, and accountability to help transform the nation. Speaking at the National Prayer and Thanksgiving service, the chairman said Ghana's development depends not only on sound policies but also on the character and conduct of its citizens. He stressed the need for what he described as a new Ghanaian, one who genuinely loves the country and is committed to doing what is right. According to him, national transformation requires a collective rejection of corrupt practices that continue to undermine the country's progress. He urged Ghanaians to turn away from corruption, tax evasion, bribery at the nation's port, and other unethical acts that deprive the state of much needed revenue and hinder development.
We need a new Ghanaian. We need to turn a new leaf. We need a new Ghanaian. Every country has a shadow story that masquerades as normal and creates a sense of hopelessness. Corruption at the workplace, for example. Bribery on our borders, for example. Bribery on our roads, for example. Tax evasion and tax fraud. Illegal mining and destruction of water bodies. Deforestation, greed, monetization of elections, and the like may masquerade as normal and create a sense of hopelessness as if we can't do anything about this. But change is possible. We only need a new Ghanaian. A new Ghanaian who is willing to invest values and principles that will induce righteousness into the nation. A new Ghanaian who will genuinely love this nation, and the tables will turn for the better.
Yeah, the chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Apostle Dr. Eric Nyamiche. Now let's go over to the phone lines and speak to my colleague Zita Okwan, who is currently at or was at the National Prayer and Thanksgiving service earlier this morning. Zita, hello, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. What more can you report from the event?
Well, Pamper, what I can say about today's event is that the Christian part of today's Thanksgiving has ended, and currently the Muslim service is taking place at the National Mosque. But here today at the State House, the event was attended by dignitaries from members of parliament, traditional leaders, and Christian leaders as well. But the chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Apostle Eric Nyamiche, delivering his speech, called for a national moral renewal, saying that Ghana's long-term transformation depends on the emergence of what he describes as new Ghanaians committed to righteousness, integrity, and accountability. Well, according to him, the country's breakthrough cannot be achieved through policy reforms and economic strategies alone, but requires citizens to turn away from wrongdoing and embrace godly values. He went on to give out some ethics that can be taught in schools for upcoming generation to learn from. He also made remarks about the sermon at the National Day of Thanksgiving prayer. He further urged Ghanaians to repent, abandon sinful practices, and seek God's forgiveness, expressing the belief that genuine spiritual renewal would pave way for national healing, unity, and prosperity. Pempe. Also, right after him, there were several speeches delivered by some dignitaries, and that's all. The man of the nation, the president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, also delivering a speech on today's Thanksgiving. Pempe.
Very well. You had my colleague Zita Okwan. She was at the National Thanksgiving prayer service this morning. Charles, did you pray this morning?
Well, it's a daily ritual. It's a daily ritual. So I prayed, of course, before coming here.
The Lord is my witness.
Definitely. But this is 12 Live on Class 91.3 FM. Let's turn our attention to Parliament now, because the minority in Parliament is calling for an urgent briefing from the Minister of Health over growing public concerns following the recent floods that affected several communities across the country. Speaking at a press briefing, Minority Leader Alexander Fenyo-Markin warned that the aftermath of the flooding has created conditions conditions that could trigger outbreaks of waterborne diseases if not urgently addressed. He cited stagnant floodwaters, uncollected refuse, and overflowing sanitation systems as major risk factors in affected areas.
Now, a public health emergency in the making. Flooding of this scale carries a public health dimension that cannot be left unaddressed. And our respected colleague Nana Ayu Efriye raised this on the House floor. Stagnant flood water mixed with uncollected refuse and overflowing sanitation facilities create conditions for the rapid spread of communicable diseases, including cholera, typhoid, and other waterborne and vector-borne illnesses. The minority is therefore pressing for an urgent and substantive briefing to this House by the Minister for Health, setting out precisely what steps are being taken to monitor affected communities for early signs of disease outbreak, what emergency sanitation, clean water, and medical supplies have been deployed to flood-hit areas, and what surveillance and rapid response systems are in place should an outbreak occur. This briefing must happen without delay. The country cannot afford a public health crisis compounding a disaster that was itself avoidable.
So you heard the minority leader in Parliament, Alexander Apenyo, marking there. Now, meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Bantama, Francis Asenso-Boakye, has called on government to declare a one-week national food emergency or flood, emergency preparedness exercise following Monday's deadly floods. He urged Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies, NADMO, and other stakeholders to intensify desilting and clear blocked drains. He also called for updates on stored flood control projects, including the Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project.
I was deeply shaken after watching disturbing videos circulating on social media of helpless citizens being swept away by floodwater, kiosks torn apart with people trapped inside while onlookers stood powerless, unable to save lives right before their eyes. Those scenes were painful, Mr. Speaker, haunting, and a stark reminder of a crisis we can no longer normalize. The previous administration also secured $200 million and additional $150 million later from the World Bank for the Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project, otherwise known as the GARID project. Before leaving office, Mr. Speaker, major work, including the Odot dredging at Chimota Abufu Drain, South Kaneshi Drain, and the Buzia Highway were underway. The Accra Flood Early Warning System had been operationalized, while procurement and designs for key intervention, including the Atomic East and West Detention Pond, had reached advanced stages. Mr. Speaker, it is regrettable that reports suggest several of these critical projects have slowed down or stalled. These are strategic flood protection projects, not ordinary infrastructure. I therefore urge government to provide this House with a comprehensive update on the status and ensure their timely completion.
So that's the Member of Parliament for Bantama, Francis Asenso-Boakye, who was also the former Minister for Works and Housing, still on floods. And after days of recurring flooding that has plagued parts of Accra, government has announced plans to reclaim 6 wetlands by demolishing unauthorized structures built on them to help reduce future flooding in the capital. Now, the decision follows Monday devastating floods, which claimed about 10 lives and affected 7,761 households and displaced thousands of residents across parts of the Greater Accra region. Speaking in Parliament, Deputy Minister for Works and Housing and Water Resources, Gisela Tete Agotui, said the wetland must be restored to their original role as natural flood retention areas. She explained that years of illegal development on the wetlands have reduced their ability to absorb excess rainwater, resulting in faster surface runoff and worsening flood situations or during heavy rainfall periods.
Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Hydrological Authority has the competent engineers to oversee flooding issues, and it's actually their mandate. Under the Ministry of Works and Housing, the Ghana Institute of Engineering is also a professional body that is regulated. In addition to that, the Ghana Institute of Architects supports that. Mr. Speaker, we have the professionals in this country to do it. What we need is funding, sustainable funding, and the willpower to be able to do the necessary demolitions that have to be done, take the hard decisions that you have to take as a government, and we are rightly going to do so. Mr. Speaker, we have about six wetlands that have to be restored in Accra alone, 6 of them. And the reason why we have to do is that we have to have spaces where we can hold water. The rivers must be given their room, and the streams must be given their space. And so these wetlands are going to be able to hold the water, which they should have been doing already anyway, from all the water, especially that comes from the Ebri Mountains.
Well, so you heard the Deputy Minister for Works and Housing and Water Resources, Gisela Tete Agbuchu. Let's get onto the phone lines and speak to Emmanuel Cherry, who is the CEO for the Chamber for Constructions and Industries. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for your time with us on 12 Live this afternoon. So, demolition unauthorized structures built on waterways, which is a measure to help reduce future flooding. What's your take on it? Is it a good step to take at this point in time?
Yeah, sincerely, it's long overdue because as we speak now, Accra has a plan, that's the entire country, which possibly we believe that is outlived its usefulness, and therefore we need to revisit that particular plan again to rezone the entire country so that things will be put in the proper perspective and then accordingly. Because where we are now, comparatively with the past, you realize that Accra keep developing over and over. And then the more we keep developing, the more we keep injecting new technology into the system. So as you injecting new technology, you are fighting nature at the same time. So if that happens, nature will respond. So that's some of the the reactions that we are seeing from nature against technology. Because why am I going this tangent? The reason being that, one, before a building is being erected, there must be a proper permitting, or permit must be issued to you, the developer, before you can erect a structure. However, most of the times, the design which has been approved by the various municipalities or assemblies, you realize that if you move to site for implementation or execution, you see that there is alteration on those particular designs. Who follows up to call to draw the attention of the developer or the project manager or whosoever that is the developing or constructing that project? The follow-up becomes a challenge as a result of what? Those are some of the technical issues we need to interrogate quickly. Number two, as we speak now, as I said, as long as the design is being tempered with, automatically it will go against the permitting. So if that happens, then nature also will have its own flesh or pound on us. Because today, the land is being created purposely to absorb water, to retain water back to the land. You and I know that the land is, sitting on the water table. So there is the amount of water on the underground is much more than even the one we are seeing on the land.
Very well.
So therefore, any water that comes from the heavens, you see that by time it's absorbed into the land,
into the ground.
So
yeah,
that is the strategy God has put in place by design. But today, out of technology, we think that we are wiser than the Creator Himself. So therefore, what happens? We design a structure and pave the entire compound with either concrete or tiles. So at the end of the day, if the water falls within the compound, there is nothing to absorb it, to return it to its original ground. So therefore, it will wash away. Now, after doing that, those developers who normally fill their compounds with tiles, with their concrete, they don't have provisions for drainage. So the drainage system that is not there, how do you expect where do you expect the water to go to? So if the water will start finding its way, at the end of the day, it keeps compounding. Yours comes, another person's own comes, another person's own comes. By the time you realize, the water level increases, and then it moves with a force.
I see.
And that is what we are experiencing today.
I see.
Therefore, this demolition is at least
right. Right.
The time is now. All those who have developed in the waterways, they must face the consequences.
They should be demolished, you say.
All those
right.
who have given that the permit must also be charged accordingly.
I see. Mr. Cherry, let me thank you this afternoon for your time. And you had there Mr. Emmanuel Cherry, who is the CEO for the Chamber for Constructions and Industry. And of course, supporting the call for demolition of structures on waterways. 12 Live on Class 91.3 FM. Prempe, what more do we have?
Now, Charles, let's do some other stories. And the memory of 3 slain High Court judges and a retired army officer has been honored at the 44th anniversary ceremony with the Ghana Bar Association reaffirming its commitment to upholding justice for all and protecting the rule of law. The Ghana Bar Association made the remarks during a remembrance service held in honor of the late Justice Fred Poku Sarkodie, Cecilia Akrofi and Aidoo, Justice Kojo Ejipon, and retired Major Sam Akwa, who were abducted and murdered on June 30, 1982. Speaking at the ceremony, the national president of the Ghana Bar Association, Ifua Gatti, said the sacrifices of the slain judges remain a strong reminder of the need to protect judicial independence, the rule of law, and the administration of justice.
Suffered by the family members. To all of you who have kept faith with us, it is a reminder on all persons to jealously protect the independence of the judiciary, to enable them to uphold the rule of law, and by extension, the protection of the rights of the citizenry. We are profoundly indebted to you. Let us keep the torch burning, and God bless us abundantly. In the words of her leadership, Justice Bamford Aidoo, GSC, and Ghana's first female Speaker of Parliament, judges should be preserved to enable them to perform their constitutional and judicial functions peacefully, fairly, impartially, and independently, free from any undue influence from any quarter, which includes from their own quarter. Ghana yearns for the likes of these patriotic, bold spirits we celebrate today, who place unalloyed service to God and country above personal and political.
Ifua Gatti is the president of the Ghana Bar Association, Charles.
Now, to some news beyond the borders of Ghana and Sudanese parliamentary, that's paramilitary committed crimes. I beg your pardon. So, Sudanese paramilitary committed crimes against humanity and ethnic cleansing during their campaign to seize the city of Al Fashar last year. Right groups has actually reported, and the siege and takeover of the city in the western region of Darfur marked one of the boldest episodes of Sudan's civil war between Sudan's army and the Rapid Support Forces. Now, the RSF crimes included murder, forcible transfer, imprisonment, torture, rape, sexual slavery, other forms of sexual violence, enslavement, and entertainment. And prosecution. And this has actually been reported by the Amnesty International investigation, and the RSF has not commented or commented on the amnesty reports, but has denied previous such accusations. Sudan remains locked in a 3-year power struggle between the regular army and the RSF paramilitaries. The ongoing civil war has killed hundreds of thousands of people and forced more than 14 million people from their homes. Widespread sexual violence against men, women, and children is being used as a weapon of war, the UN reports. Now, both the RSF and the Sudanese armed forces have been accused of war crimes, which they deny. And after being forced out of the capital, Khartoum, in March last year, the RSF shifted its focus to consolidating its control of the Western Darfur region by capturing Al Fashar and extending its reach into the Kordofan state in the south of the country. 12 Live on Class 91.3 FM. But even as we begin to wrap up 12 Live this afternoon, are you ready to reveal your fortune? Revolt Scratch for Win is here to change your life for good. Just dial star 850 star 5 hash and win up to 1 million Ghana cedis or more in cash prizes instantly. It's easy, it's exciting, and it's regulated by the National Lottery Authority. So as far as the processes are concerned, you want to pick up your phone, you dial star 850 star 5 hash to play. Yeah, you choose your station to play the game, i.e. Class FM. Select stake amount between 5 Ghana cedis and 2,000 Ghana cedis. Choose your lucky card out of 5 options. Confirm gameplay and enter your Momo pin. Receive your game results and winnings instantly. It's easy, fun, and exciting. So get ready to scratch, win, and live your best life with Revolt Scratch for Win. Up to 1 million Ghana cedis up for grabs. One more time, the short code is star 850 star 5 hash. Revolt Scratch for Win. Scratch keke nedisika sebam. Revolt is strictly for persons 18 years and above, and Revolt Scratch for Win is powered by Super Cash Games.
Now, Electroland Ghana Limited actually is here customer loyalty rewards. So Electroland Ghana Limited says because it is giving you weekly and monthly big wins and rewards when you buy Samsung, TCL, Media, and Nasco electronics anywhere in Ghana and from any authorized dealer or reseller. Just buy your LED smart TVs, split AC, double door fridges, auto grill gas cookers, washing machines, sound towers, microwaves, blenders, mobile phones, and more from Samsung, TCL, Media, and Nasco. Just dial star 928 star 8888 hash, star 928 star 8888 hash, or go to register.electrolandraffles.com to enter our weekly and monthly draws approved by NLA Caritas platform. Electroland Ghana Limited, rewarding your patronage the big way. Always remember, T's and C's apply.
Done and dusted, isn't it?
Good week.
Yeah. I mean, the first day of July, and that's how we wrap up today's edition of 12 Live. Hope we served you right. But up next is going to be the afternoon business review, isn't it?
Apparently it was supposed to be, but we are continuing the good cause for the country, and we are trying to help the president reset the
National Day of Thanksgiving.
So we have to move to the mosque, the national mosque.
Definitely. But you want to stay glued to Class 91.3 FM. My name is Charles Akrofi, and it's been an all-men affair, isn't it?
My name
is with
Nana Jiban Prempe. Stay safe. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.